passing time. Talking about dreams that never fade. Skates on ice, we watch the parade. Life's a game and we're in the rink. Laughing hard, don't care what they think.
And welcome back. No,
No,
we're not
moving.
welcome back.
No.
Welcome back to episode 8.
Yeah.
Episode 8 of Two Bored Ladies, coming to you from Gillum, Manitoba.
Yeah,
See,
the rec center.
Tara has inspired me from her DJ voice.
She was really good.
Oh yeah, she's
Yeah.
really good. Yeah. So I feel like it's like you gotta have that little twang, or not twang. What
the
is it?
enthusiasm
Like, yeah,
in your voice,
yeah.
Some inflection.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Karen.
And I'm Angie.
For those first-time listeners.
Hey, if you stuck with us, we're on episode 8. Who knew?
Well, I honestly, did you think we were going to go this long?
It was up in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no initial investment. Roy already had this because
Yeah.
the elves
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
coming.
The elves come and
Yeah,
they like to
yeah.
bring stuff with them.
They do. Good
Yeah.
catch.
They're great elves.
Yeah.
Angie's elves, or I should say Angie's kids' elves, are amazing.
Elf on the shelf for people
Yeah.
who don't know.
Yeah, my elf on the shelf and my kids were needing it was, usually you had like out of the whole month would have like one
I
or
don't
two
think
good
that's
nights.
fair.
Oh, I think that's
Okay,
very
when
fair.
you told your kids, remember when they were like, you were like, do you think I would really do all that stuff? And they were like, no. Because they was doing some crazy shit.
Yeah, but it was only like 1 or 2 a month.
No.
Yeah. Anyways, so here we are in the rec. Weekend review. Oh no, that's your baby. I'm sorry.
Weekend review. Weekend review.
Nice.
Yes. Felt good
right.
about that one.
Give it to me, baby.
Ooh. All right.
Yeah,
good time.
that's
Yep.
you're leading, by the
Oh,
way.
for
that was,
me?
yeah,
To
that was
talk
me
about my week?
leading you in.
Okay, well, let's see.
Remember, get
Oh yeah,
face the
sorry.
mic, 'cause-
So exciting news!
Yeah.
Bought new mics. So wireless mics that we can put on ourselves. So the sound, hopefully,
Oh,
2
no.
episodes from now.
Oh, I thought, yeah, but I was going to say, like, we're hoping for dramatic improvement.
Oh, it's going to be incredible. You're
Yeah.
not going to hear much of what's going on the ice anymore, except for maybe some voices from time to time. But this music that's played at the perfect level should fade away into the background. So that'll be exciting. So that was a big thing this week.
Yeah.
What else happened? Ooh, the ice show.
Yes,
And so
the
that's
ice
both
show.
of us.
Yeah.
But Karen and I and a number of amazing volunteers
Oh, yeah.
participated in helping put on the ice show. So what we're here for, twice a week, the kids were able to demonstrate their programs and a lot of the skills that they've learned. A lot of people from the community showed up.
Oh, yeah.
Really
yeah,
good.
It's good turnout.
Yeah. Big props to Tara, who did about 132 costumes.
Oh my God, those costumes. And so many people were talking about how
Yes.
amazing the costumes
Yeah, the
were. I hope that Tara
chickens.
realizes how much people appreciated that,
Yeah.
because her hard work, holy shit.
And she had some great people helping her out. Like Haley did the cards.
Yeah.
And they were just
Did you see the cow that Haley made?
fucking
That was so
awesome,
amazing.
right? And she's like, I whipped this up last night. I seen it on Pinterest. I'm like, oh, calm down. Dana crushed it
Oh
on
my
the
God,
decorations
yeah.
for the boards.
Yeah. Now, I think Dana was helped along by the fact that we hung that
We
on
did.
the board so
We
well.
did tape
I
that.
mean, that was my contribution to decoration, was like hanging the stuff up that everybody spent hours making. And I
Yeah.
just come in at the last minute, oh, let me put that up for you.
No big deal, but I've completed the decorations. But it was a good solid 2 hours of skating.
Yeah,
like
it was.
There was a lot of programs, and Becky, of course, wonderful job with all the programs and all the kids, and she had Coach Jill, who was with her as well, who put a ton of effort in. I know we're missing people, all the PAs
Oh,
that
yeah.
put in effort on the ice. It was just a really great Gillum event, right? It's nice to see the community come out. What else happened this week? I don't know, worked a lot. I had a 4-day weekend, which was really nice. Worked a bit on some cards, which is one of my hobbies, and I think we'll talk a little bit about hobbies later on. Yeah, I think pretty much boring from there. How about you?
Boring.
Oh, we had games night.
Oh, wait,
That was
games night.
good,
Yeah. No, same for me. we had the ice show, which I just thoroughly enjoyed. So I was supposed to be in charge of a bench with some of the kids and getting them into costumes and stuff. The costumes that Tara had meticulously made, and then I had to go to her while she's in the middle of being the announcer going, what is this supposed to look like on them? And she's like, just wrap it around. Oh, okay, that I can do.
Perfect.
Yeah, so then, you know, corralling the kids and getting them to listen up. And Angie was teasing me earlier on because I don't have any issues telling the kids to smarten up. I am not a gentle parenter. Not that I don't think it works for other people, but it didn't work for me. So, yeah.
But I'll tell you what, those kids were like, all right, I'm listening.
Yeah, and then they still laughed at me after. They weren't scared of me because I was making faces at them, and then I was like, do I need to come in there? And they all kind of stopped. But yeah, and then I had at one point I had come into the players bench, and I had all the kids in the penalties box, and so I came into the players bench so that I could get a clear view of the ice to take a video of Lauren's performance. And then the kids were messing around in the penalty box, so I kind of folded my arms and put on a stern face and just stared in at them. And one of the kids made eye contact with me, and then she tapped the other kid beside her. She turned around, and they both just put their heads down and stopped. I'm like, good job.
That's right.
Yeah, so that was really good. Yeah, but like you say, lots of people volunteering, lots of parents. Mike Cage was there helping corral the kids in the back. We had Roy doing pictures and stuff, and then another nice thing, and I think you got it too. Like one of our local photographers here in town, she actually recorded our kids' performances from a different angle, and then just sent it to us, a messenger. And I had no idea she was doing that.
So kind of her to do. So that's Sasha, and so thank you, Sasha, for doing that. It was, it was a nice surprise.
Oh, it was really nice. And then what I laughed because I started watching it and it went into slow-mo, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. So then I responded back to her, thank you so much. Like, you know, I really appreciate that. Was a really cool look at it. And then she responds back later, didn't realize I had it on slow-mo. And I'm like, well,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome in slow-mo. So that was good. And then that afternoon, Chris and I just kind of put it around the house and hung out and did. And then, you guys came over for games night, and Troy and Brenda, and what did we play? Oh, Cards Against Humanity.
Yes, a classic.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, the classic. So, there was a lot of, oh my God.
Yeah, some of it was pretty bad. I mean, we've seen quite a few of the cards at this point too, so it loses some of its shock value, but still pretty funny. Yeah.
My favorite part was sitting there. So I was sitting across the table from Chris, and Chris would be looking at his cards, and he was just giggling to himself. And so he had like this big smile, and he's kind of, chuckling to himself. And then when he goes to put his card down, he's straight face. I can see you.
Very, very pokery.
It was so funny. Yeah. Yeah, so that was it. And then, for me, on Sunday, I ended up doing some work on our taxes because I got audited, and we're having some issues. Because you know what? If anybody's with CRA out there listening to this, why do you pick on the people who live in the north? Like, this is my third time being audited in 15 years. That's not random, man.
Well, we got it 3 years in a row until we got that CPA to do it for us now. So I don't know how many times we've been audited since, but she just takes care of it.
Yeah. Well, I have been doing ours, and I think I said to Chris, it's time for us to find somebody, because like I can do them, but it's very time consuming. Yeah. And then I did. I screwed up on one of our things. I took the wrong dollar amount for a per diem. So that I did. I claimed too much. So it will cost me a couple $100 there. But yeah. So that was that. And then you know what? I went to work really early this morning. I woke up before my alarm went off, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna get up. So it was like 4:04. I got up, and then I went to work, and I was like, it was so quiet. I was the first one in the store, and I was like, yeah. And so then I put on some music, and then I listened to our podcast from last week. Because of that, I had created the playlist on Spotify, because if you listened to last week's episode, we had that music quiz, so I created the playlist, but I added a few more songs in there that as I was doing them, I'm like, ooh, what about this person, what about that person? So we can absolutely add more songs if anybody wants to.
not uniquely Canadian, but songs that were popular in Canada,
Yeah.
but maybe not somewhere else.
Yeah.
That reminds me, so I wanted to do a shout out to Karen.
Oh.
Because of all the work that Karen has put in. So we now have Instagram.
We do.
We have a Facebook page.
Yeah, you do the Facebook.
We have our audio files on
Our webpage.
our webpage, and you've automated when the show is going to be released on YouTube
Oh yeah.
and,
So
and
if anybody's
Spotify.
up in the middle of the night tonight, you'll get on Wednesday morning at 1:37, and that was just a random time that it'll be published on Spotify and YouTube. So yeah. But the cool thing though is that website. Like I've learned a lot.
Yes, so the website was the big finale. So
Yeah.
you've created a website,
Yeah.
twoboredladies.ca.
Yep. Yeah. And it's been pretty cool because well, we've talked a little bit about me doing that coaching, right?
Yep.
That personal coaching course. So I had a meeting last week with a few of the people from my coaching course. And a few of them are like really getting into this as a source of income. And so a couple of them had done some work on a website. And I had been playing around for us with like free websites, and I couldn't get anything to work really well. Not what we wanted to do. So having talked to them, then I ended up going with Wix, which they recommended was really user-friendly. I still had to learn a lot, but no, I've really enjoyed it. Like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can do this, or oh, I can do that. Hey, I could put our audio files up there. So yeah, so if anybody doesn't have Spotify or YouTube, go to the website, and it has our Spotify playlist up there. It has all of our episodes, except episode 4.
Yeah.
I cannot get episode 4 to load. And it says, I think the file might be corrupted or something.
Could be. We're going to
'Cause,
have to
yeah.
work over in my basement production.
Yeah, because I got some work to do. Although to be fair, I gave him I got it off Spotify, but it was in the wrong format. So I sent it to him, like, can you put this back into MP3? He did, but when I uploaded it again, it still says this file is not the correct format. So
Interesting.
yeah, but no, that was it. That was pretty much it for us. The days are getting longer. We've had some
are.
nice warm days.
The sunset on the way to the rec center tonight was this beautiful pink and purple. Oh
it
my
was
God.
Bob Ross.
It was Bob Ross. Yeah.
Absolutely Bob
You just
Ross.
put a little happy shrub.
Yeah.
And you got yourself a painting.
Put all your frustrations into the tree. Oh yeah, and then Lauren had talked about wanting to go ice fishing with Chris on Sunday, but they didn't end up going. So we only have one snowmobile, which is fine for Chris and Lauren, but like if Lauren goes, then Sheldon's got to go, and we don't have a second snowmobile. So that they didn't go, but they talked about it. I think they will eventually do it. I think they might do it if they can drive out to it. Like if there's
There you
a spot
go.
where they could drive out, then everybody could go.
Well, that's
So-
when I would do it, because then I could go to the truck when I
Yeah.
got cold, because I hate being cold.
But no, Chris always brings out he has a warm-up tent with the heater in it. Like my husband is outfitted for somebody
Okay.
who doesn't get out there very often. He has
He's
got
got all-
everything you need, everything. So yeah, so that's good. But yeah, that was pretty much our week. And then doing that Canadian playlist, it reignited my love for Susie McNeil, and I just like.
Niagara Falls, Ontario.
Yeah, so I love her, and I was telling Angie a story on the way over here that I went to see her in concert at one of the Canad Inns in Winnipeg. So it was just like in the bar, and she was opening for this other guy that I don't remember. That I think I knew one of his songs. I'll find out who it was, and I'll update that. But I was like a total like fangirl. Like I went up to her afterwards. She was signing CDs, and so I went up and like got her signature, bought the CD, and I was just like, oh my God, you're so amazing. I'm here for you, not for him. And I watched you on Rockstar in Excess, and I thought you're amazing.
And that's when the security guard stepped
Yeah,
in.
she was just like, thanks.
Next.
Yeah, I thought about going in for a hug, but I don't think I
That's
did.
crossing a line.
I was excited.
Actually, that makes me think, on one of our segments, we should talk about our favorite concerts we've been to.
Yeah.
We've both been to quite a few
We
concerts.
have been very fortunate
Yeah.
to be to quite a few.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Winnipeg gets a lot of decent
Oh,
concerts.
yeah. When the MTS Center first opened, it was
Absolutely.
like one after another, and that was
Yeah.
right when Roy and I were moving up here. And we missed out on Red Hot Chili Peppers, but we got a bunch in before that. So yeah, we'll hold that over.
absolutely.
I won't remember.
Yeah.
Menofog, hashtag.
Because somebody comment as a
Yeah.
reminder for us. Don't forget to talk about your concerts. And maybe you could give us your favorite concerts.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. Okay, well, on that note, sorry, there is one last thing I want to talk about because it was probably the biggest moment of my week, even though I didn't act like it. I should have acted more like it. Karen framed, I think we talked about it last week, but she presented it to me today, the framed $10 bill, our first earnings.
Yeah.
So that was pretty big. I'm going to take it to my office and just demonstrate it. I've got other options.
I totally left mine in my office too, because that's why I was trying to get a hold of you to see, but I'm like, oh, she's not answering, she must be in a meeting, because
Yeah,
I
it
was
was.
going to go in and just hand it off to you, but yeah, you have to remember to bring
I'll
it
bring
with
it
you
back tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
but mine's sitting on my desk, and I have it actually facing out the door, so when you walk in, it's the first thing you see.
So people have to ask you,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
why do you have
what's
that
this?
$10?
And then I'm like, oh, if you read the bottom of it,
Here's
it's
my
2
business
more
card.
days.
Which my business card.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, why not?
Sure. We're making other things. We'll talk about that another time too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the other thing we were going to talk about that led into the next thing is just sort of the state of the world right now and the shit show that it is.
Yeah.
And we thought that was kind of a good lead-in because I'm sure it's causing a lot of people some unease, some stress, the
Anxiety,
market's all
yeah.
over the place, anxiety. And so, you know, when we introduced this podcast, we said, you know, one of the big topics that's very important to us is mental health. And we thought that that was sort of, this might be a good time to maybe enter into that and talk a
Absolutely.
little bit about maybe taking those first steps when you're struggling.
Yeah.
So when we get back, we'll
Get into that.
get, absolutely.
All right.
Looking for something truly unique? Discover Fuse Muse Fused Glass, where art meets light in dazzling color. From fused glass supplies to one-of-a-kind materials for glass artists and mosaic makers, we bring your creative visions to life. Jewelry makers, artists, and mosaic lovers stand out with our exclusive designs. Shop online today at www.fusemusefuseglass.com. That's www.fusemusefuseglass.com. Or visit us on Instagram and Facebook for inspiration. Fuse Muse Fuse Glass, where creativity shines. Welcome back to part 2 of Two Bored Ladies. So we went over our weeks in review last segment, and we kind of gave a bit of a, I had a lame attempt at doing a bit of a lead-in, just based on kind of where the state of the world right now and how people might be feeling a little bit of unease. And mental health is important to both of us. We both had our own journeys.
Very much.
Karen thought it was important, and I agree that maybe we take today to take a segment to talk a little bit about it. So,
Yeah, so like Angie talked about with the state of the world today, and I think it doesn't really matter whether you're right-leaning, left-leaning, or whatever else.
Absolutely
Like
not.
everybody's got to be concerned that there's a lot of strife in the world, a lot of world leaders seeming to be taking sides, and no matter what side you're on, it doesn't matter. It just is going to cause you some anxiety, right? And I know even just like Gabby, I don't think Gabby would mind me sharing this, but it's how kids have different things that will cause them anxieties. Well, because Gabby is so into politics, I think for her one of the big things was surrounding around world issues and the threat of a World War III, and if that should happen, then will they be drafting people to come into the army and all that kind of stuff, and then just worry about your family. Right now, absolutely, that's like extreme, but you can't help but think some thoughts sometimes,
and it's
right?
happened in the past.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it's happened, it means it's plausible, right?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. So I just had a few situations even recently where I've had people, that need some help, and so you reach out to try to help. And for me, it's mostly been about trying to get people to see mental health as just something no different than going to the dentist. And I use this analogy all the time with the kids, with my teammates at work, our employees, and just talk about, if you have a toothache, we take you to the dentist. If you have thoughts that are causing you issues, you talk to a therapist.
100%.
And it's just there is absolutely no shame. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a healthy thing to do, in my opinion.
Yep.
And then there's also I know there's also some people are very hesitant about going on medication. I know I was.
Yeah.
I went on medication when I ended up going on, because I was on disability for about 7.5 months or so. It happened just right during COVID. We got through the worst of COVID, and then by June I was kind of a mess. And then I remember going to our nurse practitioner, Jill, and saying like, I'm walking. I think at that time, Brendan and I were walking like 10K a weekend. Or no, we'd done 20K because we did a 10K walk on Saturday and Sunday. I was eating well, I was out active, and I was a mess. Like I couldn't function. I was crying at the thought of going to work. There was like steps up in my office. If I could hear people coming to my office on those steps, I immediately wanted to puke. Like it was bad. And I didn't know what, I couldn't pinpoint one thing, right? It was just an overall sense of like help. And so after going to her, she was like, well, maybe we need to try some medication. I'm like, is there nothing else I can do? Because, and again, that's, I think, kind of our society's preconception,
There's
right?
a stigma.
There is.
Like you're weak or there's something, there is something wrong. That's a fact, right?
And that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's certainly a stigma. And medication is such a personal choice, right? It's like breastfeeding, right? It's up to you how you want to handle yourself and get well, right? But sorry.
No, and that was it. And for me, it took that to be able to and it was quite a while. I think I started it in June, and then I was seeing a psychiatrist. But come December, I still didn't think I was going to be able to go back to work. And then I did go back in March, so it was like something kind of clicked when it was the therapy along with the medication, and then just kind of setting some boundaries and changing the way I approach things. And I did a lot of therapy. We kept upping the meds, and I was like upping and upping. And I remember having the conversation with the psychiatrist, and I said, so we're upping them. I said, so how do I get off these if I want to get off these, right? And he says, well, once you feel like you're stable and things are going well, he says, we can look at weaning you off them. And then if at any point you feel that, you're feeling some negative effects from that, then, we can stop and put you back. And he says, but I do want you to know people who have had episodes. Right?
Way to go, Adele!
That was awesome.
She just did a hydroplane on her skates.
Is that
Sorry.
what that's called?
Yeah,
okay, yeah, it's very cool. He said people who've had a breakdown like you've had, there's a 50% chance you'll have another one.
I don't remember you saying that.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, all right.
Holy shit, that's gloomy.
Well, and I think it's because if you don't keep those boundaries, if you don't keep doing the things that keep you healthy, and I do have to admit, I remember last May, June, I wasn't in a great headspace. I remember coming to you and just crying and not knowing why. And then at that point, I hadn't been seeing a therapist in a while. So I reached out and I got set up with a therapist again. And then it was like, okay, just having the opportunity to talk through some stuff, having them there's no judgment. It's just like, how can we help you move forward?
And they ask really great questions that, I think as a friend, you're there and you want to support and comfort and hold, right? And try to ask those digging questions, but that sometimes that's not your place either. You want to disassociate that from your friendship, right? Yeah. So it's hard. So I think seeing that professional, to your point, there's no judgment. You don't know each other on a personal level, and they can really dig to help you find some answers.
And what I like about it is that every now and again, we'll be having a session, and I get along really well with my therapist. We just chat and talk, and I have no issues talking with her. And then she, every now and again, she's like, so Karen, I'd like to get back to something you said last week or last time. And I'm like, and she'll bring it up, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, so how is that going for you? Have you done anything about it? And it's like, okay, sometimes you push stuff that you don't want to deal with away, but she doesn't let you get away with that, right? She kind of not holds you accountable, but encourages you to deal rather than hide.
Keeps it in front of your face. It's still in sight, right?
Yeah, so those are all things that I really liked. And then, over the years, I've had so many conversations with, employees, family, friends, just saying, that dentist analogy works really well for me. And I mean, I use my kids as an example. You know, like Kate and Lauren both went through a few really bad years. Lauren and Kate are, you know, doing much better now, but still, you know, they're still working through it, and they're going to be 18 this year, so that's a lot to carry. So they've both been seeing therapists for quite a few years now. And then Gabby wasn't on medication or seeing a doctor or anything like that, but then when this whole thing with Ukraine started, like back three years ago, it caused them a lot of anxiety. Like they were having anxiety so much so that they couldn't even if they're watching TV and there was a news break or anything like that, or even something talking about it on YouTube, they couldn't, like it caused them massive anxiety. So yeah, we did, you know, we just went to, got a therapist, and she saw her very regular for the first few months, and then it was like once a week, and then it went to twice a month, and then it was once a month, and now she's in her 4th year of university, and every now and again, when things get really stressful and she feels overwhelmed, she'll shoot her a text and she'll like, can we meet? And it's all virtual. And then she's like, I don't know why I hold off so long before I reach out to her, because I always feel so much better after I talk to her, right? Yeah. And so, but that's just human nature as well. Yeah. So, so I don't know. I think it's just, there's so many, you know, the world is changing. It is better. I find like our kids definitely are more open to it, but there's still some of that stigma there. And then, I like, you know, I don't know how many times I've said it's okay not to be okay. 100%. You know, like it's okay not to be okay. Yeah. But I think the big part that people struggle with is communicating that, right? So for me, I will come home, and if I'm not in a good mood or whatever, I will come in and I'll say, hey everybody, not in a good mood, I need space, leave me alone for an hour, or, you know, and then Chris might come up sometimes and say, do you need a hug? And it's like, no, because, you know, you hug me and I'm going to cry, and I don't want to cry, I just need to chill, you know, and decompress. So yeah, and then the same thing at work, there's moments where it's like, you know, hey guys, you know, with my leadership team, like I'm not doing great, and I just need you to know if I snap, it's not at you, I just need to deal, right? Yep. So yeah, so those are important for me. Miss Becky's here, and she gave us a side eye because she's like, hi, Becky. Do you want to say hi, Becky? You're gonna have to speak up.
Hi.
Hey.
I don't know if you're on air.
Yes, we're on air.
That says on air. Well, I think, you know, a lot of that resonates, right? And it is that first step. My old job with the same company, so with Hydro, was as an HR advisor. And I can't, like, the conversations that we'd have with, you know, the unions and you know, line management, just in terms of our people and their well-being and how it's impacting their ability to show up to work or to perform while they're at work, and, you know, genuinely coming from a place of care and like, have you seen somebody? Are you getting some help? And it's, you know, it's a fine line of not wanting to push too hard and pry, but at the same time caring, right? Genuinely caring about our people. And I mean, we all live in a small community too, and we know everybody we work with. Yeah. So it's coming from a couple of different perspectives. And, you know, I will give my employer, so Hydro, huge accolades in terms of recognizing the importance of mental health and upping our coverage. Like, we've got, whatever it is, very great coverage for mental health and, you know, wellness subsidies, and, you know, trying to do that work so that people have the supports that are necessary. I think the next step really, though, is less about reactionary support, and now it's preventative. Yeah. Because why are we finding people in these positions? What is it that's driving people to feel like this? I mean, we can't control what happens outside the workplace, but we certainly can control the workplace and the environment that people are coming to and spending almost as much time as they do with their family.
Absolutely.
So it's now, what do we do, right? Yeah. So I can't remember where I was going with that entirely, but you know, I guess it's that first step with the shame. Like, so for myself, and I won't go big into it. I know I don't know how long we've been doing this segment. Not bad. Yeah. But for me, so this podcast is really, really good for me in that it's given me, not that I can't speak openly to you, Karen, all the time, but it just feels different, and I'm sharing it in hopes, this is so corny when people say this, but that one person hears and they relate to your story and whatever, right? So the shame piece for me is huge. So I've never shared with my parents, my sister, my in-laws, that I was off work for 10 months. And so for me, what it was is things built, it was a slow burn. It was an incredibly slow burn. I was very good at what I did for a very long time. I changed career paths because I wanted a new challenge and I was very excited about it. I took some schooling for it. But now I'm learning and I'm leading and I'm building a new group and I'm struggling. Like I always had trouble retaining information when I read, but now I don't have the same amount of time to reread items and to take in and learn new things. And I was in the position for a couple of years and I ended up making a mistake to 6 people's pay. And in the grand scheme of things, it's a pittance, right? I got ahead of it. I gave the people a heads up. We made the correction, but that's what broke the camel's back for me. And then it was, now where do I go from here? I talked to my GP, got some time off, but then it was about advocating because I'm like, I don't understand why. Medication, sure, maybe that's what I need to balance myself out. But why? So long I was able to handle certain things, and now all of a sudden I can't. I'm angry with my family when I come home. I have no time for questions. And I have a 10-year-old. I mean, at the time, 8-year-old, or 8.5. He's asking questions. Is what Alistair's really good at, right? So, and I hated the mom I was. I hated the wife I was. And it all just hit at the same time. And so anyway, advocating, trying to figure out why. They send you here, this doctor says he doesn't really deal with that, but here's some meds.
Yeah.
And you keep asking, and I lucked out because I kept talking about it, and my GP, who has been more than I could have asked for in terms of support, but finally he was like, you know what, I've got this psychologist friend, maybe she'd be a good fit for you. And it was just like, boom. That in combination with, and I have to thank my good buddy Karen, who happened to go to a woman's night, seen this wellness coach, shared her story with me, and once I got over the stigma of life coach,
I know, it seems like
right? I'm just like, who's seeing a life coach, right? Once I got over that stigma, and I really do frame it to myself as a wellness coach.
Yeah.
So similar to how Gabby feels after she speaks to her psychiatrist, I get that same great positive vibe and feeling and refresh and lightness when I finish talking to Jen. So Jen's my wellness coach and she's amazing, and I'll post her thing to our Facebook page and check her out because she's Rise Coaching, and I don't know, night and day for me. And it's, I don't see her as often, but from time to time, like, she's super flexible. I shoot her a note and then I can book some time. So she was great. But the psychologist also helped me answer the whys. So, did a whole, this is another thing I had to get over. She did a mental health exam, which I was like, oh my God, like, am I crazy?
That was intense. I remember you going
Yeah,
through
it was
that.
like 3 hours of questions, a whole bunch of paperwork I had to fill out. And, she identified some things that made sense, like ADHD. And it's not an excuse, it's not a crutch, but now I know how to address some things.
Yeah.
And so
it explains why you do some of the things you do, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not crazy.
Exactly.
It's actually because of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Why can't I read something and retain it? Well, now I know why, because my mind's not focusing, so it's about, I do a lot of mindfulness exercises now and trying to just stay in the moment, but focused on one task.
Yeah.
Not simple. I struggle all the time.
No, yeah, and just because you're getting the help doesn't mean you're going to do it all right?
No.
Like, you're still going to fail over and over again. But I think the part for me is that I know I'm going to fail, but I know I can get past it because I have, right? And I know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's okay to be down. Like, even just the other day I said to Chris, because lately in the evenings, like, I'm coming home and I'm just literally vegging out on the couch and I'm not really doing anything, and I have no desire to do anything, and not, I think it's a seasonal depression or something,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I just wasn't feeling it, and but the only thing, like you said, that brightened my day, that was like, oh, it's talked about the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's get this website going, and the reason, because I did so much, it was because I was enjoying it, and I had my mind totally occupied on something else. And that same thing where it's like, I think I can't remember if I said it to you or to somebody else, but I feel like a little kid,
Yeah.
right? So look, Mom, look what I did. Like, and tell me I did good. You know, like, and so I absolutely am like a little kid. And that's how this makes me feel. And it's just, it's been a long time since I've felt like that about anything.
It's
So,
really,
yeah.
it's fun,
It
right?
is,
So,
yeah.
You know, I hope people are having fun listening along with us.
Yeah.
And this has been a heavier segment,
Yeah.
maybe, but I think where we'll go next is maybe talk about some of the things we do outside of professional help
Yep.
to help us.
Absolutely.
All right, stay tuned.
Let's do that.
Attention collectors and enthusiasts looking for the ultimate custom collectibles? It's Patch Madness. Custom trading cards for sport to non-sport, relic cards, and even stickers. If you can dream it, we can create it. Reach out today at twoboredladies24@gmail.com for your personalized masterpiece. Patch Madness, where your passion becomes a code.
And welcome back. And so thanks for sticking with us. I hope it wasn't too heavy of a segment, but it's something that's really important, and I think it needs to be talked about more often in a
100%.
normal conversation, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's sort of like a thread that will be weaved throughout our conversations.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's always good to just have a blatant conversation
Yeah.
about it every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a big deal for me. We'll see when this gets aired and posted.
Yeah,
I
I'm
will
very
just-
proud of you.
Thank you. I'll just let my family know it wasn't because I didn't want to tell you. It was seriously shame, and then it was I did not want people to worry. So everybody else has their own stuff going on, and I wasn't in a space to answer questions either about it. So
Yeah, and that's part of that thing, right? It's easier to talk to a stranger than it is to your family.
100%,
right?
without a
yeah,
doubt.
absolutely. So,
Okay.
So things you like to do. What do you like to do, Angie?
Well, I think while I was off, so I mean, I've always been into sports and watching sports and playing softball in the summertime. But what I really came to notice when I was sitting at home for so many months and the time was going by, I really didn't have anything that was my own. My identity was really made up of an HR person, and I work really hard, and I'm a good professional, I'm a wife and a mother. Well, when the kids are at school and my husband's at work and I'm not at work, it was just like, now what am I doing? So it was an opportunity to do some inward looking into things that I like to do, and I really didn't think I'd be a freaking crafter, but it turns out I'm a fucking crafter, and I've got a whole room. But you know what? I don't care. I'm here to tell everyone I am a crafter.
There's no shame in being a crafter.
So,
And you have done amazing pieces.
I kind of combined my love for sports and trading cards and crafting and started Patch Madness with Alistair. So we create our own trading cards, and you know, whether it's sports or otherwise. And it was like a creative outlet. It was a chance for me to lose myself in topics I really like, but at the same time create something.
Yeah, you're being productive.
Yeah, there was something tangible at the end of it, which was a big deal for me. The podcast is obviously a big one.
Yeah.
I got into listening to audiobooks. And actually a really, really big thing that helped me initially was diamond dotting and Lego. And I asked myself a million times over why. You know, there's something that's very simple about following some instructions and putting things together. But I think for me there was, again, a tangible outcome. There was a conclusion. You have a piece now that you can say is done. And I think for work, for me, it was always seemed like you never really finished. There was always employee issues. There was always the next fire to put out. It never felt like you could just be like, that project's behind me, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I think being able to just be like, look at this fucking stormtrooper or whatever it is I built today, or diamond dot, and it was a connection with Abby too, because Abby loves painting and art and crafts
And also very
diamond
talented.
dotting. She is, yeah.
Very talented.
And so it was just sort of a chance to connect with her a little bit, and we work on large diamond dots together, and yeah, so I think it was just sort of finding quiet things where, you know, it also is practice on focus, right? So yeah, I listened to a lot of murder mystery books, which was also really good, which actually was kind of cool too, because I was like, this is the first time I finished a book in a long time and I can recount everything that happened. So it was a different way of intaking the information for me rather than reading. It was listening, so kind of hit on something there for myself, I think, in terms of how I understand and how I learn, and things that might make that easier to do. I mean, I think it goes without saying, the other thing I like to do is hang out with my close friends, right? And I mean, we have a pretty close group here, you know, really tight friends, and it means a lot to get together, whether it's every weekend, every second week, whatever it is, or, you know, we have meals together.
Sometimes it's 2 or 3 nights in a row.
Absolutely.
Depending on the week.
Or like, you know, we get together as family for holidays, and so I mean, it's just, you know, you have those type people that you depend on, but that they depend on you too, and it's just really nice. They're family, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think, yeah, coming to the rink, right? It was a bit of something that we started, I think, you know.
Well, you were coming here regularly. You were always coming. I came when the kids were younger, and then once they were older, I wasn't coming as often because I was like, they don't want me there, and they didn't really, because I had asked, and they didn't really want to or didn't need me. And then once we got through the whole project of the store, I needed to step away, and that's when I started coming and hanging out on the bench with you. And yeah, it was such a, like, oh yeah, it's Tuesday, it's Thursday, I
Thank
gotta
you
go.
for the ice, Adele. Perfect. You want to say
Nice
hi?
tip. Nope,
No,
okay.
now she's quiet. So I just got my piece of ice, actually my 4th piece of the evening.
Oh, 4th piece.
Yeah, been very
Nice.
lucky today.
Yeah.
So sorry.
But yeah, no, I agree. The podcast has been a big outlet. For me, when I went off work, I don't know if you'll remember, but I became a grass cutting machine.
Oh, I remember.
For me, it was so weird. Like, that was something that, God, as soon as there was like an inch of growth, I was out there.
It was intense.
And I was like, and I was out watering it, and then I was cutting it in different designs, and I was like raking it all up.
You were also
and, like,
shoveling. Remember when you dug out your whole fire pit so you
yeah.
could have a fire in
Yeah.
the... Because fires were really big. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut off the grass.
No, that's totally it, because I think that was part of it, because we were spending, like, you guys were coming over, because I was off work, and you guys were there, and the evenings were long, and it didn't have to be just a weekend. You guys came over, and we'd sit around the fire, shoot the shit for an hour or two, and it was still only 9 o'clock, or whatever, 8 o'clock. So that for me was a really big thing. And even when you guys, or nobody was with me, or it was just Chris or whatever, I would sit for a long time by the fire, and it was just something, like you say, that peaceful thing where I wasn't focusing on anything, I wasn't thinking, I was just like, what is that, grounding, I guess they call it, where I was just like,
There's some mindfulness.
I
Yeah,
was
you're just
there.
in the moment.
Yeah,
And yeah.
And cutting grass was big. Like, I put the music on, and I know it got a little out of hand.
Just like, fuck, she's out there again.
Well, and not only that, but I do, like, I wanted to go, like, you guys were gone for a little while, and your grass is out of control. And so I didn't, rather than walking down the length of the street, push the lawnmower, I got Chris to help me, so we put the ramps on the back of the truck, and I pushed the lawnmower up into the back of the truck, got my whippersnipper, the extra batteries, got my gas, I headed down and did your yard when you were away, and then I did Brenda's yard when she was away, and then I did the daycare a couple
right,
of
I
times.
forgot about that.
And then I think I did Jenny's once or twice as well. But yeah, and so, like, and just, you know, and maybe it was the physical labor, because I was so much spent so much time in the office, and even during COVID, I was on the floor a lot. I was barely in my office. I was on the floor a lot, and it was intense. And so this was just something that and I kept it up. Now, granted, last summer I wasn't as gung ho as I was.
Was it not last summer where you were like, can I please, what's it called, put the holes in your lawn, aerate your lawn? I'm
yeah.
like, fuck no, like, I don't want this to grow. You're out there, and I swear to God, I looked out the window because I can see Karen's from my dining room window, and I'm like, she's fucking aerating her lawn, Roy. I swear to God, if she comes over here with that thing,
I did do our neighbors. And so I knocked on the neighbor's door because our neighbors, we kind of share a little bit of a side yard. And so I was doing our side. I'm like, well, I can't not do the whole thing. That's going to look ridiculous. And so I knocked on the door, and I remember, and I didn't know our neighbor, like, in between us that well, but I'm just like, hey, I'm out here doing yard. Is it okay if I go ahead and do the rest of yours? And she just kind of looked at me like, all right. And then I was afterwards, I'm like, yeah, that's probably pretty weird. But yeah,
too
so
funny.
I guess wintertime for us is the rink. And then, I mean, we haven't done anything this year, but we have done some curling bonspiels in the past that has been fun.
And even if we don't curl, sometimes we'll go and
yeah,
hang
we'll
out at
go
the
and
Bonspiel,
yeah, absolutely. And now we seem to be working on everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're the bar aficionados.
I just seen the emails. I didn't open them up.
Oh,
Are they
I'm taking out.
schedules?
Yeah, I'm taking out more liquor licenses. Although I think I might have to break the news to Becky that I've done my 2 this year already, so I can't do another one. I might have to get somebody else to do it. I think I've done 2.
I think you have at least. Do you
Yeah.
have to be there every minute of the day when you're on the
No,
liquor
well,
license?
only if I'm the only one on it. So I wouldn't be the only one. They'd have to have other people.
It shouldn't
'cause-
be me and you though, because we'll work the bar at the
Yeah,
same time. So
yeah.
I don't mind going on it, but then somebody else should be on it because I'm not going to be there 12 hours a day.
No, and it's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Why are we doing this on?
I don't know, but this is what we do. But yeah, and I mean, and that is part of our enjoyment. We might not be out there curling, but we're shooting the shit.
Oh,
we're
I love
chatting,
bartending.
and-
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I really enjoy it too.
Yeah.
I remember when we used to was it a Halloween social, and it was really, really busy, and because the Halloween socials here in Gillam are fantastic.
Yeah, they are.
Everybody dresses up like crazy. It's so much fun, and I just remember I had welts on both
Oh,
my
from
index
opening
fingers
the cans.
from opening cans because we were so busy. We were opening 2 at a time, and I was double fisting it. Like, I was going
Oh,
hard.
yeah.
It was awesome.
It was. It was a
I'm
good
so
time,
proud of
but the
myself. I'm like,
fingers
look at
were
me.
sore.
Yeah. No, so that was fun.
Yeah, that should be a good weekend though,
Yeah, I
bartending
will.
at that. So that's the mixed bonspiel we're
Yeah,
doing, right?
yeah. Yeah, the corn broom and something else. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah.
It'll be good.
It will. Yeah, so for me it's that, and then in the summertime I do enjoy quadding.
Yeah.
Brenda and I try and get out as often as we can. We went through a dry spell there where we didn't really seem to have the motivation, or something would come up. But last summer we got out a few times.
You and
So,
Brenda, yeah, I think I went out once with you
Yeah.
guys. We have 2 quads and they're getting very little use.
Yeah.
We gotta do a better job.
Yeah. But no, and that's the cool thing about here in the summertime. There's some really cool places you can go.
Yeah.
If you want to go mud bogging, yeah, absolutely. Or if you want to stay on dry land, there's lots of really cool
Away
spots.
from the bugs, because it's the bugs that I hate the most about living
Well, I
up
mean,
here.
when you're on the quad, we've never really talked about the bugs.
No, fucking bugs are nuts.
Yeah, because we've been talking about how great it is.
Yeah, so we won't talk about the bugs. Come to Gillam.
Yeah, but you know what? It's not for everybody.
No,
It's not for everybody.
no. What?
And
I
I mean,
mean-
there's but to me, it seems like it's spurts, right? Like we sit out around the fire in the evening, and then there'll be some bugs, and we'll usually have like a thermocell or something going, and then I'll make the fire huge.
Yep,
So that
bonfire.
tends to keep them away. And that's the other thing. I become famous for like people. I hear Karen needs wood. Right?
Oh, pallets? Who needs pallets? Karen?
Yeah. So and then I'm cutting them up, and that was fun. But so then it seems to be like there's just that time frame, like less than an hour, where they like come out in droves, the black flies, the mosquitoes, and then they just kind of ease off again. So you just either have
Normally.
to step out of that or put up with it.
It's certainly hit and miss. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember the first year we were living here, and there was a poker derby, which I really wish they would bring back for the quadding. And so you would stop in the middle of the course, you get a card, and you put together a poker hand. But when we stopped or when we got stuck, it was just swarms of black flies around us. But you know what? I mean, now we look back and we just giggle. Like, it
Yeah.
was funny, right? And
Yeah.
you're pulling yourselves out and you're covered in mud. And yeah, I don't know. There's not really a bad thing you can say. You deal with the bugs just like you deal with mosquitoes elsewhere, or when you're camping, or whatever the case is.
And
It's
and people
just-
say, "Oh, it's so bad in Gillam," but like I spent my high school years in Manitowoc in northwestern Ontario, and I worked for the town for a few years in the recreation department, and I was Marvin the Mosquito one year in our Summerfest. So
Nice.
the town mascot was Buzzy the Black Fly, and then his sidekick was Marvin the Mosquito. So I got to be Marvin the Mosquito on the back of the what do you call those cars? The convertibles sitting
Oh,
up
yeah,
on the back
yeah.
of them, and so then we were in the parade, and it was pretty hot. But that was pretty cool though. They had Keystone Cops, and you could get people thrown in
nice,
jail
yeah.
during the day and stuff.
That'd be
and-
fun to do some sort of an event. Actually, the mosquito thing, you remember the big giant mosquito in Vermilion Bay?
Yes.
It's like everybody tries to take claim of being the bug capital,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But anyway, that big mosquito used to scare the shit out of me when I was a kid.
And then they have the big. It's like a Sasquatch or something in Vermilion Bay.
But that has always been there though, hasn't it?
Has it?
I think so.
I don't know. I've only been driving by it
between
like
Thunder
20
Bay
years.
and here in ages, but used to do that pretty regular.
Yeah. Anyways,
Anyway, yeah. So I think maybe just to end this bit, I think we'll post on our Facebook page a lot of the help numbers
Yep.
that we have. It'll be particular to Gillam, but there's a lot of like Canada-wide suicide hotline, that kind of stuff. And we'll put it out there and share it,
Yeah.
please. I mean,
Please
it's
share
great
with everybody.
resources.
Yeah.
So we'll put that on our Facebook page. What was the other thing I said I'd put on our Facebook page? Do you remember?
we were gonna do the playlist. Oh no, not
No,
the
it was
playlist because I
something
put that
else.
one out,
Yeah.
out there. You said, "Oh, that'll be our first post on Facebook."
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
I don't know.
Oh,
Fucking hashtag
God, we
metafog.
need to start writing shit down.
We'll have to just re-listen to this. Okay. Anyway, we'll come back and we'll wrap it up.
Sounds good.
Feeling stuck? At Coaching with Karen, we believe the answers you need are already within you. Whether it's life, wellness, or career guidance, Karen is here to help you uncover your path and move forward with confidence. Because a better tomorrow starts with the right support today. So visit us at coachingwithkaren@gmail.com to take your first step, and that's coaching with a K.
Welcome back to the final segment of our show today. So, just as a bit of a wrap up, we did a week in review.
We did.
We had a very open and honest conversation about our own mental health struggles and imploring people to take that first step and
Yep.
bypass the shame piece or the embarrassment. Talked about what we do to combat and put ourselves in the right headspaces and sort of just refill our cups. And now we're closing time.
Closing time.
I love
One
the
last
semisonic.
call for alcohol.
Also finish your whiskey or beer.
Who's that? Semisonic?
It's semisonic, yeah.
Semisonic,
Very good,
yeah.
very good. So, I wanted to just share a quote that I had come across at one point about mental health. So, mental health problems don't define who you are. They're something you experience. You walk in the rain and you feel the rain, but importantly, you're not the rain. So that's Matt Haig, and that was something that just sort of resonated with me and something to take away and maybe think about.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I put it up on my team's, pinned it at the top of my team, so it's always
Oh.
there to look at and just a reminder. It's
Well, that's
not
a
who
great
I
idea.
am, it's just an experience I've had.
Yeah, I
It's
love
part
that.
of who's made me who I am today, so
Excellent.
hopefully more empathetic. All right, so on that note, today's language to say goodbye in is Arabic, and I went with that just because we had recently been in Egypt and Jordan, or Ayat. So it is May Allah Salama.
May Allah Salama.
Yeah, and if there's anybody out there and we butchered that, please let us know.
Yeah, and we apologize.
Yeah,
'cause
and
we
we do.
genuinely want to say it right.
100%.
Yeah.
We're not trying to make fun
No,
at
no, no.
all, so we're just
This
doing
will be
shout outs
like-
in different
yeah,
languages.
absolutely.
So, all right, well, on that note, thanks again so much for joining us, and
Talk to you next week.
absolutely, good night.
Good night.
Angie and Karen want to recognize that this episode was recorded on traditional indigenous lands and was brought to you by In My Parents' Basement Studios. Thank you for listening, and I hope you guys have a great night.
Hatch plans that we'll never save. Frozen hair and a frosty kiss. In the ice, our secrets twist. Talking about dreams